Hey everybody, Dennis here from Respiratory Sensei. And as you know, our lungs are nestled carefully inside the rib cage. And so it's important that we understand a little bit more about rib cages and ribs in general. And the first thing you need to understand about the ribs is that they're very delicious. And so you need to smoke them from time to time. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to smoke it in this gravity-fed smoker by Stumps. So let's check it out. Let's do it. Oh, and these are from a pig, not human. I just didn't want you to think I was going all Hannibal Lecter on you or anything. Let's go. Okay, what do I mean by gravity-fed smoker? Well, what I mean is that there's these smokers here. They kind of look like a little bit of a refrigerator here. And they're pretty simple. What they work is by putting charcoal into a gravity chute. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if you take a peek at this, if you open up the top, what you'll see is that there's this chute here, and of course there's charcoal in the chute. And then that chute gradually delivers charcoal if you come down here to the grate. So there's a door down here we'll take a peek at, and then here is the grate. Here's the grid at which the charcoal is going to get on, and then underneath here is a tray that we can put in wood, pieces of wood. And pieces of the embers from the charcoal will gradually fall on the wood, and it'll cause the whole thing to just start smoking. And so that's what we want. And then of course the heat and the smoke goes into the main box, which is over here. And this is what I mean, it kind of looks like a refrigerator here. We'll get in here, and then of course there's the smoking chamber. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to light this puppy and get her going. Let's do that. All right, the next thing I want to show you is a tool that I use. It's a little bit of a computer, but it helps me manage the temperature in the chamber, and that way I don't have to be worrying about it all the time. And what it is this little bitty computer that just kind of magnetically attaches to the side, and inside it has wires, of course, that go inside and have a heating probe. And then what it does is that if the temperature falls in the chamber, then it is attached to this little fan that is on the door. And this fan will blow more air across the coals, and that's what really causes the heat to go up. And so if the heat goes down, the fan turns on. It's all done by computer, and I don't have to watch it. All right, now if you're wondering, I have set the temperature to 225 degrees. We're going to cook ribs. These are baby back ribs, so it's going to take us about 5 hours, and I'll talk about the method. But right now, we need to go inside and actually prepare the ribs. So let's go do that. Okay, so here we have a silver skin. And I have to be careful because if I were to just take a knife, and I have just a very, very thin knife, just so that I can get started. If I get straight down to the bone, I could remove all of that, but that's not what I'm trying to do. There's a little layer in between, and you can always just kind of see through it. See how I've stuck my knife in there. And then you can go just very carefully. It might tear a little bit on you, but I just move the knife around. What I'm really trying to do is to get that to be big enough in order to get my finger in there. And so you can see now I have my finger in there, and that's when I can pull it up. And so I'm gonna go ahead and try to do that. It's gonna fall to pieces, of course, and I was just gonna tear, but you can see I'm getting my fingers in there. All right, so now this is actually coming off pretty good. You can see that I have all along here that I'm just removing that whole silver skin. Now, once I get to that far, what you're gonna find is that this is very hard to hold on to, and so that's why your best friend is a paper towel. Paper towel, for some reason, more than anything I've ever had, holds on to it so that I can just rip that right off. And there we go. Now that skin is taken off. There is another layer here, and you would not want to remove that. We want to keep that there so it's a good bite. And now all we do is we turn this over, and we're going to put some dry rub on it to help it taste good. All right. Now I use a very simple, we call a basic rub. And if you were to ask me the recipe on this, I certainly have it. Mine has about 9 ingredients in it, but if you were to look on the internet, you'd find, just search basic rub, you'll find 1,000 variations, but they're really all about the same. It's mostly salt and brown sugar. It's got some paprika that makes it kind of that crimson red. And all we need to do is we need to put some on here. We don't have to put a lot. It is a little bit powerful, especially I have cayenne in here, so It just depends on how hot you like your ribs. What we're trying to do is just create almost a dryish texture to the ribs. And so, you know, I'm just not dumping tons of it on here, just putting a little bit. Now, if I flip it over, there is meat there, and some people do like to rub it. If I rub it, I only rub it just a little bit. And then, of course, what I do like to do is get the edges, because there's access to some meat pores there. But that's it. And now what we need to do here now is that the spice is still kind of dry. Now we don't ever want to take dry spice rub on a piece of meat and stick it into the heat. And that's good. My smoker is still heating up. So what we want to do is make sure this becomes looking moist. And it is already looking moist, but if I let it sit here for probably 30 minutes, then it's going to look just about right. Maybe not even 30, maybe 10 minutes. I'll probably hit temperature, and then we'll go in the smoker on this thing. Well, we're back at the smoker now, and things are coming up nicely. The temperature is about 216 degrees, but I want it up to about 225. Sometimes I even go up to about 230, so that when I open it, it drops to 225, and then I maintain it there. It's not critical, it's not rocket science. It could be 225, 250, it doesn't matter, but notice that we're not using 350 or 400. What I don't have is I don't have smoke coming out the chimney. A little bit, you can see it there. And that's because I haven't really introduced the element that causes the smoke. I've definitely got charcoal in there, but what I'm looking for is wood chunks. So now I want to start using wood chunks. And you can use a variety of whatever you want. I like to use a variety. This is cherry, it's just a little bit red, but I also like to use hickory. This is something that I get sent from Texas. I'm from Texas, so I'm partial to Texas hickory. Anyway, it doesn't take very much. I could probably smoke all these ribs with, I don't know, 4 or 5 chunks of wood. And I don't personally like to put my wood in water and soak it. I can, I've done that before. It just makes it smoke a little bit longer so that I don't have to change it out. But I like the smoke of a dry wood, and it also causes it to smoke kind of faster. So that's what we're gonna do now. Let's go ahead and put the wood in the place where it can cause the smoke. Okay, so remember, we put the charcoal in this chute here, but that chute just kind of goes down until it gets into the fire chamber. Let's see how things are going. As you remember here, I don't want to keep this open for very long. We definitely have the grate there, and that's where the charcoal is falling on, and it's lit. And what we want to do now is take and put some wood. Now what we do is we put some wood in the smaller chamber there. And so it doesn't take much. I just have a tray. When I start off, I often put 1 or 2 pieces there, and then we of course have some wood there. Now I'm going to try to do something here. I'm going to go ahead and put my blade, a blade, right here in between the ember. I wanted you to see the embers fall down. What they're doing is they're falling down on top of the wood. What that's doing with that wood is that just a couple of embers that fall on the wood, they don't make it flame up and fire up too much. They just barely touch it, and of course they cause a lot of smoke. And one of those chunks of wood will probably last 30, 40 minutes. And that's the smoke that we need, and so that's all we need. We just let that smoke. I have to, about every 30 minutes or so, come and add another piece of wood, but it's pretty easy. It's pretty hands-off. All right, so let's do that. All right, if you're wondering about the timing that I'm going to use, the method that I'll use to cook these things, I'm going to use the 3-1-1 method. That means 3 hours, then 1 hour, then 1 hour. For the first 3 hours, they're just going to smoke like they are now. All I have to do is maintain the temperature. I don't need to open this up. I just need to add a piece of wood about every 30 or 40 minutes. And then, of course, I'll wrap it in aluminum foil so they can tender up. I'll do that for 1 hour, and then I'll take them back out, and I'll put some sauce on there to candy up a little bit, and I'll let them go back in for 1 hour, and then I'll let them rest for 30 minutes, and we'll cut them. We'll see what they're like. Okay, here we are. We're about 3 hours later, and it's time to pull the ribs out, put some aluminum foil on there, and then just put them right back in. Okay, we're finally ready to cut our ribs. Remember what's happened is we pulled them out of the smoker and we did let them rest for about 15-20 minutes. And now we need to cut the ribs. But it's not always easy to cut a rib, so let me just show you something really quickly. As you look at the ribs here, you might think that the ribs are going to cut straight across, but ribs are not oriented that way. So what I like to do is flip them over. This is not the extremely pretty side, but it's the side where you can see in between the ribs. And so that's a good place to get the cutting going. All right, so I just cut a rib there, and then of course I'll cut another one. All right, then I just want you to take a look at the rib. And you can see there that there is a great red smoke ring, and generally the rib looks pretty good. All right, that's it. So ribs are what surround our lungs, and that's why we did this today, because you guys are respiratory therapists, and well, we're supposed to talk about lungs. So I hope that counts. All right, we'll see you later.